Alright guys, we've got another flanker for the house of Hugo Boss in the Boss Bottled Collection. It's Bold Citrus. So I picked this one up on my way back from Europe at the airport. I got a pretty good deal on a second fragrance. But I do see that it's selling at Macy's right now. It's 15% off promotion there. So I'm going to tell you all about Boss Bottled Bold Citrus. It's a limited edition. And also give you an update on a lot of the fragrances in the Boss Bottled collection of Hugo Boss that I really enjoy. So find out all about Boss Bottled Bold Citrus coming right up. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'm Sebastian, talking to you about Hugo Boss's latest flanker for their popular Boss Bottled series called Bold Citrus. So I actually featured this in a upcoming fragrances video. Did I? Maybe I didn't. I knew about it, but I thought I did. So if I did, and if you heard me talking about it, do add a comment below. I can't remember. It's been a pretty busy trip, and I'm drawing a blank. I thought I featured this in an upcoming fragrances video, and I was excited for it. And now that it's out, I'm a little underwhelmed, but I feel like it's pretty quality. The reason I'm saying I'm a little underwhelmed, it's because I am so enjoying the ABSOLU. ABSOLU is amazing. Absolutely love it. This one is a citrus, and it's a given. With citruses, they're not as exciting as some of the more deeper, richer, more intense fragrances. But don't get me wrong, I really enjoy citruses, and I feel like this is quality citrus offering. And the fact that it's a limited edition, I think if you are looking for a new citrus fragrance for the upcoming warmer seasons, I think definitely it's going to be great, especially if you are one to only enjoy or wear designer fragrances. So this is a 2025 release. It is a limited edition offering. It's created by a different perfumer. The majority of the releases in the regular line are created by Annick Menardo, and then also Suzy Helley has been working with her. And this one is created by Sophie Labbe and Honorine Blanc. So they've gone over to Firmenich, but the previous fragrances were created by perfumers from Simrise. So they're different firms, and I don't understand why they do that, but maybe since this is a limited edition, it's a flanker that's not necessarily similar to the DNA of the original. Maybe that's what they did, but I also don't think that the current versions of the ELIXIR and the ABSOLU are much similar to the very original Boss Bottled. And I'm going to get to that as well today. But this is a citrus aromatic woody fragrance. Concentration is eau de parfum. It is for men. I think a woman can totally pull this one off. It's a citrus after all. Woods, aromatics, and citruses. It's very simplistic and easy to wear. And I think it's perfectly zingy for hot weather. It's priced at 100 ml for $125. There's that discount, as I said, at Macy's. It's 15% off. So I think that's saves you a pretty good amount of money. I think it turns out to be close to about $100 for this. There's tax on it as well. And the notes break down for this: lemon, Primofiore, bergamot, those are the top notes. We've got Elemi extract and geranium bourbon for heart notes, and patchouli essence and vetiver for the base notes. So it's interesting. I don't know if it's because I did a video recently on Elemi fragrances. If you haven't caught that video, please go catch it. All of a sudden I'm seeing or noticing Elemi in fragrances, and I feel like there's definitely a nice amount of Elemi in here. And if you didn't catch that video, please go catch it. But just in a nutshell, Elemi is a resin, and it's most prominently featured in Eau Sauvage Parfum, the 2017 edition, and it's kind of a lemony, incensey, smoky, piney resin that's typically found in the top or the heart notes, and really works nicely with citruses, so gives it a little bit of a backbone and also give it some strength. And then of course gives it the boost of the lemoniness because it's a bit citrusy, and then of course slightly smoky and a bit camphor, piney kind of accords come in with the Elemi resin. But this starts off very juicy citrusy. I love that about it. It's extremely juicy, and when I first smelled it at the airport, instantly thought about Versace Eros Energy 2 Boss Bottled Bold Citrus. even though they spray a bit differently when you first spray them, they do kind of get close to one another when they're drying down, but they're not identical in the end. They did remind me of one another. But with that first blast, the top notes, very juicy, very zingy. I almost get the lemon peel, like you're getting the bitterness of the lemon peel, so it gives you that kind of a tart, zingy effect. But I wouldn't call this super astringent. It's got some sweetness in there. There's definitely some sweetness in there, and it's nicely balanced. So we're not like, you know, swimming in sour lemon perfume. There's definitely some sweetness in here. So when it's going to the heart, you are experiencing a bit of that Elemi with the aromatic touches of the geranium. Here we get slight minty touches from the geranium, and of course the resinous touches. Lightly smoky. It's not uber smoky. I think they've brought out mostly the citrusy touches and, you know, a bit of a boost of the ambery resinous touches of the Elemi here to give it some strength. But by the time you get to the dry down, you're getting the vetiver and the patchouli, these two earthy notes. Patchouli, one of my favorite notes. In fact, it's prominently featured in the ABSOLU. That's why I love it. Here, it's not necessarily super noticeable. It's more of like a refined, stripped away of the patchouli's qualities kind of patchouli, but it's there. You'll notice it. It's nicely mixed in with the vetiver, and the vetiver is, of course, you've got that kind of grassy, woody effect happening, and you do kind of need that here in the citrus fragrance. Otherwise, the fragrance would just completely fizzle away. Now, for me, this is a very wimpy fragrance in that it's not a room filler. It's not a super beast mode type of a fragrance. Doesn't have a lot of strength because we're dealing with very fragile notes. We're dealing with citruses, so it wears very light. But what I liked about it is they gave us an eau de parfum, so it does have some legs. It's just not a beefy fragrance, if that makes sense. It's not like thick. There's a very thin quality about it, but thankfully with the fact that it has those you know, patchouli and vetiver, it gives it like a bit of a longevity when it's drying down. I wouldn't say this is an all-day affair, maybe 4.5 to 6.5 hours every time I was wearing it, but like I said, it does wear thin. The only other thing I should mention is also I do get a bit of an ambroxan-like vibe or some kind of an amber woody vibe here in the dry down, or actually not even in the dry down. When you first spray it, you get that whiff. And I'm familiar with a lot of the amber woody fragrances, so I kind of know how it smells, and it's not smelling like vetiver. I mean, I'm smelling those things, but I'm also getting, in addition to those things, something amber woody, which I feel like it's needed here to give it a strength to carry the fragrance and not have it disappear so fast. So I do like this, but I'm not very excited about it. I wanted to get it because I like the bottle. The green color is really nice, breath of fresh air from going with the clear for the original and the eau de toilette. And as I said, the Boss Bottled ABSOLU is my favorite. Then we also have this Triumph Elixir as well, and of course the original Elixir. I'm not going to talk to you about the Parfum, which I didn't really care for. And when the Parfum came out, I wasn't aware that they were going to instantly launch an Elixir, then the Triumph Elixir, then the ABSOLU. But they did such a great job, both Annick Menardo and Suzy Helley. But before I wrap up about the Boss Bottled Bold Citrus, I just want to say I think it's a nice citrus fragrance, not breaking any new ground. And if you're a fan of the Boss Bottled series, this is not going to smell like the Boss Bottled original fragrance whatsoever. But if you're looking for a new citrus, and like I said, if you are a person that wears designer fragrances, I recommend it. So that's Boss Bottled Citrus. Bold Citrus, I should say. So before the Bold Citrus came out, we had Boss Bottled ABSOLU, and it was one of my favorite men's designer offerings of last year. I really, really love the way it smells. So the original fragrance was created by Annick Menardo. I think when she created this, she probably was working at Firmenich. Don't quote me on that. But now she works at a firm called Symrise, and she created the ABSOLU with Suzy Helley. And if you don't know this perfumer, she's a younger perfumer. Annick Menardo has been around since the 90s. She's created so many amazing fragrances. In fact, she created the original Boss Bottled in 98. I've noticed her name come up in fragrances all the way to the very early 90s. So she's been around creating fragrances, and she kind of dipped for a bit. Now she's back and doing some great work. And as I said, the Boss Bottled ABSOLU is so amazing amazing. Absolutely love it. I love the fact that it has a lot of patchouli. There's incense here. There's leather, myrrh, Davana, cedar. And I think knowing Annick Menardo, she did Bois d'Argent for Dior. She did Bois d'Harmonie for Guerlain. Those fragrances combine sweet resins with smoky incense. And so she does great work with incense type notes. And for me, Boss Bottled ABSOLU is fantastic. If you're looking for a top-notch men's fragrance with, you know, really great longevity and things like that, I think Boss Bottled ABSOLU is one you should definitely check out. It's considered a Parfum intense concentration, and it's the style of amber woody, and it's 100 ml for $150, but that's the suggested retail price, but I think you'll find these at discounters now. And then prior to that, we got Boss Bottled Elixir, and at that time I thought Boss Bottled Elixir was also really, really great until the ABSOLU came out a year later, and I fell in love with that one, and I felt like that was the best. But also Boss Bottled Elixir is quite good. Once again, created by Annick Menardo and Suzy Helley. This concentration is also Parfum intense. I prefer the other one, as I said. This is definitely solid. This one does kind of lean a bit like a Middle Eastern style fragrance, which is fine, but I really enjoyed the patchouli intensity of the ABSOLU in comparison to the Elixir. For me, the Elixir acts, like I said, a bit more like a Middle Eastern fragrance. It's intense with the labdanum and the ambery touches and also the smoky incensey touches. And then also, I think there's some leathery touches that come in here, but not as strong as the ABSOLU. But still a solid fragrance, and I think this is also available at the discounters now. You should be able to find them at the discounters. And I've got them here linked as well if you're looking for a new men's fragrance. And I think I made a mistake here. Boss Bottled Triumph Elixir came before ABSOLU, and then before the Triumph Elixir, there was just the Elixir, the Boss Bottled Elixir. And what I liked about this was it was a little different than the regular Elixir, and it had, I think, a bit more of an amplified patchouli, but not like the ABSOLU. So this one's also really great, I think. I think all three of these flankers are really great takes on the Boss Bottled collection of fragrances, but once again, they're not similar to the original Boss Bottled, which I'm going to tell you the story of how I discovered it after I talk about this. But the Triumph Elixir is also a Parfum intense concentration, and once again created by Annick Menardo and Suzy Helley, and this is an amber woody fragrance, and this time they have patchouli, violet leaves, and vetiver, so it's got a bit of freshness with the ozonic touches of the violet leaves. So all three of these flankers I think are really great, but I think they don't really smell much like the original Boss Bottled. So then going back in time to 1998 when the original Boss Bottled launched, way back in 1998, and at that time Annick Menardo had created this one. And I'm going to tell you the story of how I discovered it. I was eating dinner with a friend at a restaurant that was actually quite quiet, not many people, and there was a woman that was sitting just near us wearing a fragrance that we couldn't stop smelling because it smelled great on her. Turns out we asked her, she said it's a new fragrance by Hugo Boss, and she was traveling from Germany because, you know, Hugo Boss is a German brand. She said the name and everything, and it hadn't launched here. And the weird thing is the friend I was dining with was actually going to go to Germany like a few weeks later. So I got my first bottle of Boss Bottled like probably in the year that it was launched, before it was released here in the States. And I used to love wearing it. And I feel like at the time, it's an eau de toilette concentration. I felt like the concentration was a lot stronger back then. It has gotten a bit thinner now, but it's all actually, what I like about it is warm and vanillic with the fruitiness of the apples and the plums that are in here. This is considered a woody amber or woody spicy fragrance. It is eau de toilette concentration. It has cedar, apples, vanilla, cinnamon, geranium, vetiver, sandalwood, bergamot, cloves, palisander, rosewood, and plums. It's definitely one of the best fragrances that I think have been created. Really a long-standing fragrance. We're getting near 30 years for this one here. It's 2025, and in 2028 it's going to be 30 years. And I think it's long-standing because people tend to like it, and I think Annick Menardo created a really great fragrance. And it's a given that now, almost 30 years later, we have been getting such great flankers of Boss Bottled fragrances, and of course now we have Boss Bottled Bold Citrus. So yeah, I think it's a great solid collection. The Boss bottle, the Bold Citrus, and I think it's definitely easy to wear, freshy. And if you work in office environments and things like that where your fragrances cannot be strong and you can't do Boss bottled Absolu or the Elixir, then I think the Bold Citrus will be fine. I don't think it's it's not overwhelming, and it's a pleasant smell. And if you still have people at the office that are sensitive to fragrance, I guess 1 or 2 sprays should be fine at least. For me, that's perfectly fine. But yeah, I think it's solid, but for me the Absolu is top notch, and I can't ever forget the original Boss bottle. I think for me there's memories of the 90s. Great time to be wearing amazing designer fragrances that stood the test of time. Anyway guys, thanks so much for watching today's video on the new Boss bottled Bold Citrus. Let me know if you've tried it, let me know if you're curious to try it, and let me know if you're a fan of the other flankers in the Boss bottled collection of fragrances that I discussed with you today. If you have any questions or comments, please list below. Please like this video, please share it. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye.